hard since we started back in the summer, and looking forward to it. And we have a few injury updates we need to talk about. John Fulkerson is going to miss the exhibition game. He broke his thumb back a couple of weeks ago and as in a cast, but we fully expect him to be ready for the opener, so he won't play Saturday. And Jonas Sadu has been fighting an illness the last couple of weeks, but other than that, we expect everybody. Kennedy has missed a little bit. He had some problems. We got his teeth knocked back a little bit, but he'll be back in practice today for the first time in a couple of days. And but overall, we've really have had a lot of fun coaching this group of guys. They work hard. They've accepted the challenges that we put in front of them. They know we've got to get better in some areas, a lot of areas actually. But the fact is, it's been a good group, and as a coaching staff, we're excited to have a chance to coach them.
Rick, I know you're far from a finished product, but coaches always talk about competition and how important that is. Do you feel like you're best equipped in terms of depth of roster and competition to help you get better as the year goes on?
I do think that. You know what? We've had really good, healthy competition from the beginning, and we've got numbers, full numbers right now, and from where we started, and the addition of some guys, Zakai coming in late, and certainly with our, 7 new players coming in, and the older guys, doing what we've asked them to do in terms of really the leadership coming from them. I think I've got the best coaching staff in the country. They have bonded extremely well with their players. We obviously lost 2 from our staff a year ago, but the transition to the new staff's been great, which I think has helped with that competition, where we spend the time that we spend with them daily as a coaching staff, and whether it's with our film study or our individual vitamins that we do every day, it's been a really healthy, competitive situation, and we're going to have that throughout the year. And if we do what we like to do, we expect to go very deep into our bench, and if we can play with the pace that we've been working at, and we know we've got to hopefully continue to be able to play that pace, but so much of that will determine how much progress each player can make from here on out.
Rick, last year with COVID and going into the season, a lot was made of guys not being able to really be around each other outside of practice and outside of games. Have you seen a distinct difference in team camaraderie, chemistry this offseason going into the year? Absolutely.
Just a totally different feel with our program, and we've always spent a lot of time together as a program. Our locker room is really a second home for all of us, and we do so much there together. And last year we didn't get any of that, and it was I feel for some of the players a year ago, obviously, because they didn't get a real feel of what it was about, what it should be, but this year's been a lot of fun. It made us really, truly appreciate what we had before, to be quite frank. And this group is a group of guys like almost to the point where every day when we're finished and we're down in the locker room area, the lounge together, you don't want to leave because you enjoy that camaraderie, and maybe some of it has to do with how much we did miss it a year ago. But it's just a totally different feel than what we had last year this time.
Rick, after the Oregon State game, you talked about that team's biggest problem was consistency, lack of consistency throughout the year. Why do you think the consistency, or do you think it will be better on this team, and if so, why?
Well, I think last year, the consistency, I do think that if you look at when you go back and analyze what happened last year in college basketball, I think that younger teams struggled to some extent, and I think a lot of that had to do with the COVID, and I think where our consistency will be better is that we've had a full year with these guys, in terms of our normal routine, what we do starting in the spring, the summer. We didn't have any of that really, no spring, a partial summer basically, and but we really got back to normal. Now we had some guys that traveled with their, with international basketball and played for their countries and where they were away, but we deal with that normally a little bit every year anyway. But overall, I just think the fact that we are back to our normal routine, and I'll give a lot of credit to our older guys, because I do think that they've really tried to do a good job of addressing what we ended our year last year was the leadership coming from within more so, and I think that our older guys have done a good job with that.
Rick, couple questions. How different is it having the number of true point guard options you have this year compared to last? And then how long are you expecting Jonas to be out?
It's different, Mike, in terms of the depth, just like when in practice. You know, I mean, I could go down the list with each one. You know, Santi's improved, maybe arguably the most improved player on our team, and you know, so many things. It's just fun watching him play, to be quite honest with you, watching him practice, because he's at a level that's, one, he's got himself in elite shape, and to be an elite player, that's where it starts. And then with Kennedy coming in, and you know, he shows us what we expected and what we've watched him do over the years that we've recruited him. And then we got very fortunate and blessed with Zakai at the end. I mean, we knew about him, and certainly the way he ended and the way it worked out. But those three guys have really helped each other. I mean, you were talking about, go back to question about being competitive now. That position is probably the most competitive position on the floor every single day, because of the fact that all three of those guys are high-level competitors. They're very dedicated and determined to get the most out of their ability. They've embraced each other to where they know that they can help each other. And I will tell you, there could be times this year they could all three be on the court at some point in time, because of the versatility that all three of them have.
Then Jonas?
And Jonas, again, you know, Jonas was making strides and going through the typical, I think, adjustments that most freshmen have to go through, you know, understanding the wear and tear that it takes daily. And, you know, every freshman that comes in, it's different for each one of them. And, but Jonas, you know, he really was making strides, and then he got hit with the illness, and it set him back. Now he hasn't been with us. This is starting the third week, and hopefully after this scrimmage he'll be back and he'll have to work his way back in. He won't be able to come back full throttle. When you miss this time of year, because you think about our scrimmage, you think about we scrimmaged full scrimmages with ourselves twice, and then an outside scrimmage, and the day-to-day, because now we will start, you know, tapering back a little bit, getting ready for our games, but we're still we've added some things while he's been out. So he'll work his way back in, and I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. You know, he brought some stuff. I mean, his rim protection was something that was really excited us, and he just found a way, it seemed like every day, found a way to block shots. He's got great hands, great touch, and but you know, all things happen, we think, for a reason, and maybe it'll be a blessing in disguise for some way, somehow, as we go forward. But we're expecting him to come back eager and excited to get back in it.
8 newcomers on this team. Where do you feel like those guys are at, and understanding what y'all want to do defensively, but also understanding the importance of every possession?
When I look at the 8 newcomers, do I think they understand? Totally, not totally, but I think the perimeter guys understand a little bit more than the post players, because I think that we've got some perimeter guys that have been through it, and they again, the competition's been great, getting at it each and every day. But I don't know if it's, I'm not going to say it's not normal, but you know, there's a lot of play today where young guys growing up, I don't even know if they've ever heard the term post defense, and understanding that with the way people play today, you know, without true post players. But we've got to get better with our post players. I think they've done a really good job of understanding, I think, the coverage that we want in our different ball screen packages that we throw out there. But in terms of the rim protection that we're looking for, that we think they can give us, and the interior defense, we've got to get better there. Certainly, some of the younger guys struggle, probably more so away from the ball. I think most guys comprehend pretty quickly that what you got to do guarding the basketball, but it's the off-ball actions that they probably have never been exposed to as much as they will be at the competition level that we play against. But overall, the attitude's been good. I go back, you know, Coach Schwartz, he does a great job with that, along with our other coaches, you know, daily holding them to the accountability that we're looking for on the defensive end. We got coaches at rebounding. We think that to be the team we got to be defensively, we've got to improve our rebounding from a year ago. We've got to be better there, and those are the little details that younger guys have probably heard but have never really understood that's the makeup that really makes up the difference in winning and losing basketball games.
Coach, name, image, likeness, how big of an impact have you seen that be in recruiting? Is it something that kids ask you about when they're on visits? Is it something parents are interested in? How big of an impact is it out there?
You know, Rob, it's interesting. Some prospects have asked about it early, you know, right off the bat. Others never mention it. And what I do know is that as a coaching staff and as a university, we believe in it. You know, we're behind it, and I think there's been some great opportunities here for our players that they've taken advantage of it. And I think that our university and our community and our fan base and people here, it's there for those guys that want to pursue it. But I tell you what really has impressed me are the ones that talk to me about the big picture. They say, you know, because we want to make sure, you know, that's not what we go in the first thing that we're going to throw out there, you know, name, image, and likeness. But, you know, we know it's something that we talk about. And as I said, some prospects more than other, they're more interested in that possibly than what we look at as the big picture. And because I like to think, and I've said this, that after their time with us here, you know, we want it to be some of the best years of their life, but we see the big picture that when we leave here, we want it to be bigger and better than they can ever imagine. And I really respect our guys here because we've talked to them about it, and every one of them has said to me they don't want to do anything that's going to get in the way of them progressing with their development to get to where their goal is. But as I said, some of our guys have done well. They've been able to do it, and it has not in any way, shape, or form interfered with them continuing to do the things that we were asking of them in our program. But we deal with it. We do in recruiting. We'll go, and you know, there's certain things that come up sometimes in recruiting that when people throw out numbers and figures, which, you know, we're not going to do anything that we shouldn't do in the recruiting process. But if some of the things I've heard in the recruiting is true, I've told people I think the transfer portal is going to be bigger than ever, because I think the transfer portal is big now because I've always said that I don't think coaches are always truthful in recruiting. They promise minutes, they promise things that they truly hope people forget about, and I think the same thing is going to happen with this in some situations. People are going to throw out numbers that you're capable of doing this, and people are going to come up short, and that'll be another reason that kids will look to leave places. So we're not going to promise anything, but know that we're going to do everything like every university in the country does. You know, I think that, and I have had some talks with Danny and about it, and we're not being left behind, and we're not losing recruits because of the NIL. We're not, because, like I said, when we go out recruiting, we got a certain things that we're looking for, and we early in the recruiting process we kind of get a feel for what things are and what's important, and we can make our decisions from there.
Rick, I know that last year, almost immediately after that Oregon State game, Josiah talked to a bunch of us and, without even being prompted, started talking about how he thought it was unacceptable and he needed to be a better leader. He put a lot of that on himself, even though he'd been injured. Well, what did that tell you about him, and do you think he backed that up this offseason?
He has. You know, last year at the end, you know, with Folke getting hurt, and, you know, we just never seemed to get in some rhythm. And, you know, we played a team that obviously was better than people thought and had a great run through the tournament. But I actually told him, you know, not to be so hard on himself. But the fact is, what he said is that I think every coach and staff would tell you, your best teams are when it does come from within. And when you players are able to help each other, and that means sometimes talking to each other in a way that how will that person accept it and understand that. But he's earned that right. John Fulkerson has earned that right to do that. Those guys at Santiago, those guys do it because those aren't. I mean, those guys work. They've put a lot of work into this program, and they've earned it. But the neat thing with it, up to this point, has been, and I expect it to continue, is how our young guys have embraced them. But it started in the spring, because that was one of the biggest things that I spoke about, was that how, you know, if you're going to be a great teammate, you guys are going to have to be able to look at each other at times and speak truth to each other and say, hey, and it's going on right now. And I've actually been impressed with Kennedy asking me almost daily. He actually called me right before I came over here, and he asked me, how can I help my teammates? And he asked me specific guys who he could help because we all know we need everyone. And we've not even gotten close to settling into what we think will, be our rotation. I mean, we've been through enough here where I can go back through my years here, starting the first year with a guy like Kevin Punter getting hurt at the end of the year last year, Fulke going down when we felt like he was finally starting to get back to somewhat of a groove that we knew to expect from him. So it's a long year, and that's where we want each guy to continue to grow each day, knowing that who knows what's going to happen with along the way. But the fact that almost daily somebody will say to me, what can I do to help my teammates? And again, to be quite frank, that's what we talked about at the end of last year, and to see it working has been fun.
Hey, Rick, just overall with the newcomers that are in the program and then the fact that you do have some veterans around, how key is that for your basketball program in general, especially with the way the schedule is going to play out early on in the month of November, having that veteran leadership to be able to maybe guide you guys through that first month while these newcomers get accustomed and used to things?
It's important, not just, and again, you mentioned our schedule. I can't imagine anyone having a more difficult one early, but we've always believed in it and think hopefully it's going to get us ready. But it's not just what we do day to day, but the preparation that we do. Like we'll use our scrimmage last weekend against Davidson. We prepare like it was a game, and it's important that those guys, while we're in there going through that, the older guys ask questions, and I think that some things that they wanted to make clear that I think they knew the answer, and they weren't sure the young guys did. But I think they were willing to do that, and we'll do the same thing against Lenore this weekend. We'll go through it, we'll prep, we'll do it, and what those older guys will do, and they talk about when we leave, the night before a game, like we normally start out 2 days early with some things, and them telling those guys, hey, now this is important. We got to go upstairs, we got to get our work done. Let's not get Coach upset where he keeps us out here longer than we need to because we don't get it. We got to get this early. This is where we got to be focused because we got to get it. And I'd like to be able to get it in shorter times. That goes back to the older guys telling those guys we got to get it, and we can make it easier on ourselves when we're all locked in. And then, the night before the game, the day of the game, pre-game meal from there on back, because once we come normally here, they stay here together from the time we go through our pre-game meal. They normally don't go back to their dorms, so they're together, and they have an hour or so in there, hour and a half maybe, where they're on their own. But watching the older guys take them through it this past weekend was neat, and I think the neatest thing is the younger guys are willing to ask them. They want to play. There's no doubt they want to play, but they're asking those guys, what does it mean? How, everything's down to a detail. Pre-game warm up, how we do it, how we dress, everything we do, and so it's not just practice, but it's getting them to understand mentally how they can get themselves ready and try to make them understand what they need to be focusing on before the game, because they've all been through it, and they would all tell you that, getting ready for games, you often wonder as coaches, what guys, and I ask them that, what do you have to do to get ready to play right now? And most of them can't give you an answer other than do your job, and then you say, well, what is your job? And some of them still quite can't answer that. So it's a never-ending process that you're going through with them, because roles can change, situations can change. But when you got older guys that we need right now to help 7 new guys, it's imperative that they do step up and take that on.
For our next question, we're going to go to David Pascal on Zoom.
Hey, Rick, I know you've always dealt with the dynamic of returning players who seek more playing time and newcomers who do want to get playing time. With the transfer portal now, and I know you didn't hit the transfer portal as hard as some other coaches in the league, but it seems like the basic gist of this question is how do you keep everybody happy? Because it seems like with minutes, You've got more and more people vying for them, and there are guys like Nate, you, and Bruce that really build rosters that seem like even the 11th, 12th, and 13th best players on your rosters are really good in making it deep.
Well, the first thing I think you got to let them understand minutes, that there's only 200 in a game. And if you sit down with each player, which we do it often, and say, hey, okay, let's sit down and let's take each player and write down how many minutes each player should get. Every year we do that. It's amazing. We need about 16 overtimes to get everybody minutes in. You know, they think everybody's going to play 25 minutes a game. They truly don't understand the value of minutes. But that's nothing because to feel bad about, because most of the guys that we have played all the minutes they've ever wanted to play their entire career. And so I think the first thing you have to let them know how valuable those minutes are, those 200 minutes in a regulation game. And then I think this, players understand who should be playing more than anybody. And I do. I think they know that. I think they see it, and it's easy because of the film studies that we do and the different things that we go through. Do they all want to play as they've had their whole career? There's absolutely no question, and we would be disappointed if they didn't want to do that. But at the pace and level that we want to play, for young guys, learning to do that for 2 minutes is difficult. To where if you're seeking, high level, I don't know if I want to use the word perfection, but if you're seeking great execution, and so to get them to understand that you're going to be in a lot of close games, maybe decided by 1, 2, 3, 4 possessions, it's really important that they understand that every second you're out there, there's some accountability going on, and the focus to do that. But in practice every day, and spending time with our guys every single day, we're constantly talking about what they have to do to get the minutes that they want to play. And I think as the season goes on, it plays out with consistency. I think that's when you get down from a coaching standpoint, that's what you're looking for day in and day out. Who can we count on? Do we know what that guy's going to give us every single night? Knowing that we've got younger guys, like you mentioned, that they don't know what it's like to get ready to play. I don't care who's on your schedule. We believe that whoever we're playing, we're going to do our work to get prepped, but we want to do what we do. We want to play at a level where we don't come back in and say, well, why didn't you do this, or what were you thinking on this play? Why were you here where you're supposed to be on the other side of the court in terms of execution? But that's probably the hardest thing for younger guys to grasp, is the details that go into being successful. And but with that said, as long as guys give us the effort, they do everything that we ask them to do in practice, we're going to find a way. And they'll stay with it. And like I said, the year is a long year, and we wouldn't want guys that didn't want to play a lot. But the first recognition is understanding how valuable those minutes are.
Rick, Tony Vitello said at the Quarterback Club that you're about the nicest human being that he's ever met, and that he's uncomfortable around you because you're such a great guy. What have been your experiences with Tony Vitello?
You know what? I think Tony's phenomenal. I love his fire. I love it. I love it because I can think back to when I was his age, and Tony's in, the best baseball league in America, building a program against some of the best great baseball programs. And you know what? I think sometimes when you're in that position, I remember when I left Clemson, and I left Providence and went to Clemson. I got a call from Coach Thompson, a great coach at Georgetown, and all he said to me was, hey, if you want to be good, you're going to have to be willing to take on City Hall. I wasn't sure what that meant, but I figured it out, and I think Tony's willing to let everybody know that he's in this thing to win and win big. And the excitement that he brought to Vol Nation in the spring, it was what we needed. With what we had gone throughout the season, and to see all those people out on the street wanting to be in the stadium, and then getting to the World Series. I mean, it's phenomenal the job he's done up to this point. And Tony, I'm sure, would say like me that he feels he's got the best staff in the country. But I'm excited for him. I'm excited for his future. I'm excited for what he's trying to do here and the way he does it. And I think his team has truly taken on his personality. And I just think there's great days ahead for our baseball program.
Last question, Rick Butler.
Coach, you began with baseball a little bit. Football had their first sellout of the season a couple weeks ago. How excited are you just to get back to a traditional Tennessee environment with the fans in the stadium?
You know, I've said many times to a lot of people that our fan base here is as good as there is in the country, and I think you talk to coaches in any sport, they would pretty much feel the same way. But to see what's going on here at the university is exciting. Great leadership from Randy Boyd, Donnie Plowman, and obviously with the changes, but what Danny White has done with his staff, and there is no question that Josh Heupel's, what he's done is phenomenal. You look at the way we've improved as a team. I love the fact that being around Josh, he's a confident guy that has focus, knows what he's doing. Has put a great staff around him. Chris Woodard's become a terrific friend of mine, and knowing that what he did last year, getting to the Final Four, and then I go down the line with it. We want to talk softball. Any program. I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm just so proud of our university, our athletic department, going through tough times. And I can tell you, there's no better leadership at any university in the country than what's going on here right now. And I think just great future ahead for us in so many different areas, not just as an athletic department, but as a university, the way it's growing. I just hearing how the Haslam Business School is exploding, how we need a new business school because it's just exploding as a university, and watching downtown Knoxville grow, watching everything around campus grow. It's a great time to be a Tennessee Volunteer.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it.